Okay, we're live. Let's watch this. This is not useful. So you can see right, I mean, it's so hard to see. This is not like good enough resolution, but you can see how quickly that ski lead change happens. Like you're already, the ski lead has already changed here, like completely. You're already like almost like half a boot length, and then it stays pretty static throughout the rest of the turn, right? Here you've got a little bit of, we can see you've got a little bit of ski lead, still a little, still a little. I think you're basically almost even here, and then it just comes forward. Right there. So let's look at where your hips are. You're facing the direction of the next turn. Yes, yes, yes. Good angulation. Not a lot of angulation from the knees though. It's mostly upper body, right? Like we can see that pretty clearly. There's not a lot going on in the knees. In part because you can see the angle is actually different here. This leg is going a little bent, and this one's going a little straight. That's a little A-frame we were talking about. Shoop. And it just falls in there. Right, yeah, look, no A-frame here. Your legs are like parallel, they're nice. You're on the outside ski. This looks good. And then what happens? Let's turn this back a bit. Oh, the phone is so much slower than the GoPro. You got the ski lead, and then boom, look at your look at your knee here. Like look at this. Like this is kind of cray cray. You're keeping this knee bent. You've extended this leg, and the reason why you're able to keep this bent is because this ski is just going forward too early, right? We can see it now in the angle of your legs. If this leg, your right leg, were further back, if it weren't so far forward, then your inside leg would be a little straighter, and your legs would be at the same angle, but they're not. Here it looks like you might be a little inside, but I can't really tell. Here, see that? That's the move. You've already got the ski lead, and then it just falls in even more as you tip your hip. Then you tip your hip, yep, and there it goes. Right, and now you can see the difference in the angles like really well, right? This leg is bending like a little bit this way. This one is kind of coming in a little bit. So your legs are kind of hourglassing a little bit. It's a little like yeah. This knee is slightly tucked behind this front knee. This is another thing because this leg comes forward and this knee tucks in a little bit. So maybe what Connor was saying, I'm trying to get at, was right here in the transition, right? We talked about like the two ways you can make this transition, right? Let's say the apex of your turn is right here, and you want to move towards it, right? Ideally, you drive the hips straight towards the apex. The alternative is you can go up and then over, right? And like if these are vectors, these two arrows, let me change these to blue. These two blue arrows would add up to this red one or the pink one. In other words, it's like a triangle, right? When you move diagonally, you're moving along the hypotenuse. Otherwise, you move up and then over. Here, I think you're moving a little up and over, though I don't think... I'll have to look at it in more of your skiing, but it's not... It's very, very slight. It's very slight. It's like really hard to tell because you are such a dynamic skier. And this is such a, like, shallow slope. I mean, you can see this hourglass thing again here, right? This little A-frame. I mean, this is, and I'm just beating a dead horse, right? It's exactly what we talked about, and you were getting it at the end of the day, but it's just useful to see it a little faster. Oh my god, this video's frame rate's so slow. It's so hard to see. But yeah, see, you're already putting that inside ski forward. You just need to keep it back a little bit, be a little more patient, let it get some cuff pressure. I think that will also help widen your stance a little bit more. Right? See, look. Like, position here is just great, right? Look at this. This is like textbook, right? Legs are same angle, hips pointing towards the apex of the next turn, head looking there too. Your arms are a little stiff. We need to relax your arms a little bit, but that's mostly it. With regards to your like upper body. Right, like look how much tension you're holding here. Look how high this arm is. Like that's not, you're here. That's not comfortable. Or maybe it is for you. I don't know. I might be bullshitting. Let's take a look at these ones. Like, this looks great. Apart from here. Yeah, so it's kind of like when you're moving that hip over, you're kind of rushing it a little bit, and to help rush it, or rather to help bend that inside leg, you're moving it forward. So this is great. Like your hips are moving in the right direction. It's just like the way you're moving your hip, right? Because the hips got to get over here, which means that this leg has to get shorter, and so you can either bend the leg and keep the cuff pressure, or you can just slide it forward and bend the leg. And that's like super easy to do. It's like a little harder to keep the cuff pressure. But, I mean, you can get it. And then you can see actually here a little bit, like, you do a great job of this, and I'm surprised it like doesn't show more in your skiing. But here you've got like a little bit of a diverging ski, if you can tell. Like your boots are actually, like your stance is really narrow. Like look at the distance between the tips of your skis. Look at the distance between your boots. You've got a little bit of a diverging ski here, actually. Very, very slight. Because you're such a strong skier, it doesn't actually like manifest that much. But this is usually what happens when you lose the inside ski a little bit, is you'll start seeing folks like diverging, like as they lose pressure on the inside ski. So this is like a super useful thing to look for in folks skiing. Ooh, that's, yeah, look at that. Now we see this like little A-frame up close, and you can see actually that you're getting like if you were a little wider here, you could get a lot more weight on the outside ski. Like this is narrow stance, but it's I mean, it's not like problematically narrow. Maybe we'll widen it a little bit once we get like the inside ski back a little bit, but I mean, I'm just like nitpicking here, really. Same thing with this pole swing. It's like, oh no, it's good. I mean, it's a smidge early, but it doesn't matter. I'm just trying to look at the legs here, see what's going on. You a little further forward. You're just a smidge back, a smidge, right? Nose is over the toes. Nose is over the toes. Maybe a little further forward. Couldn't hurt. Oh, but see, you've got the ski lead and you haven't even come around. You've barely initiated this turn, and you put in the ski lead, and then, ooh, and then look at that. Look at, forget your hip, right? Because your hips are actually pretty good, but your hand is going to drop a little bit here. Again, these are small movements, which is why they're so hard to see, which is why it's so good to look at them on video. And now you get a little back. Now you can see it, right? You're a smidge back. We need you a little further forward, and we need this foot a little further back. All right, yeah. Look at this here. You just need your stance a little wider so you can actually stand on this ski and not get so far inside. And yeah, I mean, you can just look at your knees, like which way they're facing. And you start moving over. That's good. That's really good. I like that. You know, what Connor was saying about the patience, you know, feeling yourself balance over the outside ski. Maybe this is what he was trying to get at. But I don't think that cue is particularly useful for you because you balance over the outside ski. Like you're a good skier. You don't need to be told to put your weight on the outside ski. It's not helpful. I want to look at this again. Yeah, see, it's you've got no ski lead, and then boom, you've got ski lead. As it comes around. I want to try to figure out, like, I think you can get more angulation here. I'm trying to figure out why you're not getting as much. I think part of it is that you're a little inside as a result of this thing, and just these turns, this one you start a little back, so that's why. It's because you start a little back, right? If we look at this other one here, yeah, you were like back finishing this turn, and then you start coming forward, and then whoop, the ski goes ahead and you fall back, and then you're park and riding. Right, the hips go in, you get on your edges, and that's it. But it's this is not like an egregious one. Like, I didn't really catch this when I was looking at you because you are so dynamic. Yeah, because look, then you make this like lovely move. This one was better, right? Look at this turn, much more gradual. But still a little fast, If you look, you can actually see you've got a slight wedge here. I think maybe part of it is that you're skiing, like, if we look at actually like the radius of these turns, you're keeping your counter for like very, very long. Like here you're finishing the turn and you kind of drop this hip. As you're coming around, you're dropping this hip in order to keep yourself facing, you know, down the fall line. But this, you know, the turn you're actually making here is like quite wide, right? You go all the way over here. So your hip, you can afford to, I mean, also look at the ski lead. Like, this is kind of egregious. Like, oh my God, look at this. Okay, this is kind of the worst example. But it's good that we get it on video because we get to, like, we see it right when you're skiing past me. Like a little bit in the back seat, but you're keeping what I was saying. You're dropping your hips a little bit in, and then you're hanging on to the turn while your hips face a different direction. So if we look at like the next few frames here, Your hips are not really changing directions, and neither are you. You're kind of just traversing with it. And the reason you're doing that is because look what's actually happening is it takes a little while for the skis to get back under you because you put your hips there. If here, instead of continuing to wash out this inside ski and push it forward, you pull it back and you just really focus on I guess maybe you really focus on just, okay, I'm going to say it, staying balanced over the outside ski. Maybe that would help. Let's go. Yep, so a little back, and then this move is going to happen really fast now because you're back. Yep. Right, you went from having a little ski lead, and whoop, there it goes. Right, here to here. Super fast. And you finish the turn. This one is much better. This one is much better, right? You don't dip in. You don't dip the hips in. You just start moving immediately afterwards. And yeah, this one's, I mean, you can see this one's better. Still a little bit of an A-frame. This still comes around a little fast towards the end, a little fast, but it's a lot like this turns okay. I mean, and then towards the end, you do this again, which is way too much. Yeah, so just I think like 2 observations. One is like pull back that inside leg, make sure you keep cuff pressure, take it from there. The other I think is like, I don't think I actually need to like prompt you on this. I think this will resolve itself. But when you're thinking about your hips, right? Like you were talking about before angulation, it's like, well, what does that actually look like? And that was terrible. It differs based on turn shape. So if we have a small turn versus a big turn, and we'll just draw the apexes. At any, let's take the initiation, right? Because this is what we're focusing on. Let's say you're here. You want your hip to be pointing towards the apex of the next turn, basically like at every point in the turn. So like even when you're here, you want your hips pointing here. And same when you're here. You want your hips pointing here. Obviously these angles change as you ski through the next turn. The same thing holds true in a small turn. It's just that these directions change much less. So all of a sudden you're going, like these angles are much smaller, right? You're going from apex to apex. And so here, really the deviation is like maybe like a few degrees in a small radius turn, whereas here in a larger radius turn, it's a lot bigger as your center of mass moves. So all I'm going to leave you with is don't worry about like, oh, I gotta maintain counter super hard. You can do that. I think part of what's going on is you're so focused on it that you're thinking center of mass looks down the fall line. And you it's why it doesn't come out so much in small turns and like when you ski bumps and stuff like that. But on these like medium-ish turns, we can see it a little bit more, that like you're somewhere here in the turn and your upper body is facing like this way, and then that forces you inside and blah blah blah. But I think all of it actually just comes from this inside foot. But I thought I would mention this just as like, if you're worried about like, oh, I gotta keep my upper body facing down the hill, don't worry about it. It's fine. Oops.